Quick introduction. I met Douglas when his company contacted Badlands Yoga to host one of these beautiful sound bath experiences. And that will be happening in September this year. It's 2023 if you're watching this later. And as we met and started to share about our own practices, we found that we are kindred spirits in terms of having a personal practice as well as a community that we connect to. So Douglas was the principal timpanist for the New Mexico Philharmonic and has transitioned into the sound healing as his business, and still plays percussion and is a lifelong meditator or a more recent meditator?
I'd say lifelong.
Yeah.
Even when I was a kid, for some reason I was able to have a quieter mind. So I would say a quiet mind, but a lot less chatter. I always had a place to go to. I grew up in rural Virginia, so
Yeah.
my backyard was about an acre, but beyond that acre was 80 acres of my grandparents' land in the forest.
Wow.
So literally, I could just go back there and literally, it felt like hiding, or just enjoying just nature. I mean, which is kind of like hiding and getting away from all the chaos and all the movement and all of the high energy.
Yeah. Like hiding in one respect, but maybe like being found in another.
Absolutely, all in one.
Yeah. And so as we were getting set up for this, I wanted us to meet here in his studio because it's such a beautiful place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We were talking about language and meditation. And when you are meditating and in it, you are in a place like those woods, past language, right?
Absolutely.
And we're here to talk. So we've agreed that maybe a good way in would be to talk about teachers and then techniques.
Absolutely. One of my teachers, Jeffrey Allen, Jeffrey was an engineer.
Awesome.
Turned into energy work guru. And it's amazing just paying attention to, we all have intuition. We all really, but how do you awaken that? How do you notice it? How do you come to understand what is yours? Is it clairvoyance? Is it audiovoyance? And where is it for you? I don't want to say we all, but a lot of us have had the time when something comes to you and it's a feeling, and then you react on it. And it happens, I would say often, but sometimes we don't react on it.
Right.
You know, that energy is basically two energies merging together, like this coming out here, and you are being aware of that energy, and it connects.
Right. Relationship.
It's a relationship. Knowing when you're feeling that, because it came to you. You know? And a lot of us, or all of us, sometimes don't pay attention to it, and that's okay. How do we pay attention to it when it is happening? And a lot of the times, I remember Jeffrey saying, react on it when it's coming to you, because a lot of times, as busy as we are in this culture, it goes away. Sometimes then come back. And that's okay too. I say okay a lot. Am I okay all the time? No. Practice is, and I'll use this with an analogy of music playing. Of course, I'm a trained professional for 30 years. When we're playing music, classical or jazz. It doesn't make any difference what genre the music is. Sometimes you're going to play a little bit out of tune.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't stay out of tune. As quickly as you can, you merge back into playing in tune. So no one else really knew, or you don't stop. You just kind of weave your way back in. So as I teach and as I practice, I really use that now, because when I talk about staying present or being present in the moment, my students or participants, they say, I can't do it 100% of the time. Well, that's not really what we're asking for.
Right.
So to make it more real in what it is, how is it in real life, in real time? And I use that analogy a lot because, first of all, do you have tools that you can use? And most people do. They just don't use them, even when to get back in.
Right.
So it's not that we're there 100% of the time. It's that we are aware, which is the first most important thing to realize, when we are out of tune, out of presence.
Your explanation is so rich, because I think its fundamentals are very simple. You're talking about awareness, and that's what we fundamentally are. And so there's, in the Zen Buddhist tradition, which is what my personal meditation practice is, there's this big schism in the schools, right? Is enlightenment something that you come to, or is it something that you already are? And over the centuries, there have been great debates. Evidently, people have come to blows over this. Are you already enlightened and you just need to remember? Or is enlightenment something different than ordinary consciousness? And what you're focusing on are what I think are the fundamental tools. Awareness, which is a function, it's an expression of consciousness. If we're going into granular definition, and our sensations. And that's why the music analogy is so brilliant, because how do you know you're out of tune? You hear it. Yeah. Or I don't know, I'm not a musician who should be playing in front of anyone else. But I do remember, I was raised Catholic and I learned how to play the guitar for Catholic Mass. Yeah. And I do remember being able to tell I was out of tune because I saw other people's faces. And I'm guessing that there's something similar that can happen in an orchestra or in a personal,
in a regular relationship, or when you are not yourself. You're going to get different reactions from, if you're in a group or in a twosome right now like this, they're going to let you know with some kind of movement. It's all the muscles that move,
the micro expressions. Yes. Yeah.
And that's a little hint to you, a little wake up call that maybe I'm a little bit out of tune.
Absolutely.
Out of presence.
Out of presence.
Take anger, take
an
expression like that. Something happened, but you're letting it stew. You're letting it, let's say you're not really processing it or trying to work through it. You're just, but it's to the point to where it's not being processed and it's not serving.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, and that's what I love about the explanation that you've given so far, is that we're not asking ourselves or anyone else to be in tune 100% of the time. It's listening, recognizing awareness, and then having the other tools. So our senses are our tools, along with our awareness. And then what other tools do you have to merge back?
Allowance, permission. It's, we don't do that for ourselves. when we get used to doing that for ourselves,
Mm.
I mean, it's literally like coercing yourself.
Yeah.
And I, once again, being a trained musician, the things that we had to learn or not make it
Mm.
um, were things of being in the now, not 100% of the time, being courageous,
Mm.
being kind to yourself. I'll give an example.
Mm-hmm.
Practicing in a practice room. Practicing in a practice room can be anyone studying anything,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because you're working on you, number one, okay? We tend to, as we are working
Mm-hmm.
and growing, we tend to focus on the things that are not, this could be better. What could this do? I could have
Mm.
played that better. I could have presented that better. So you're focusing on what didn't go well.
Well, and the values, right?
Yes.
Better, worse, one
Yeah.
up, one down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The yes, no, open, shut. Exactly. If you change that paradigm to
Mm.
what went well, and it's
Mm-hmm.
also an open-ended question to yourself, it's not closed-ended.
Mm-hmm.
What was greatly improved? Something was improved. Everything didn't sound awful or
Right.
what you were working on. So focusing on that again is growing your energy. It's about energy. It's
Mm-hmm.
growing that energy to the positives, even those things happen that you would like to work on. And then, well, here's one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite ones. It's so there were three. That was what went well, what was greatly improved or what was improved,
Mm-hmm.
and what was great effort.
Mm.
What did you try? You didn't have to even get it, but what did you really attempt to a little bit
What did
harder?
you find courage to do?
Same, same parallel. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
And that's kind to yourself.
Yeah, it
When
is.
I started doing that, it changed my life. Am I like that all the time? No.
You listen, you merge.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's all that building block.
Yeah. Yes. I love it because it opens up. And so when we were getting set up, we talked about potential for music in the background. And I asked, well, do you have some of yours? And then I was going to tell you guys, oh, the track is called. And Douglas said,
A track with no name or something like that. It may have a title, but it would be hard pressed for me to play this session again verbatim.
whereas if you were doing percussion for pick out your favorite, who is your favorite classical composer? Or is that a
I don't have
question
one.
you can ask?
I really don't have. I have some favorites, just because I just don't put a lot of eggs in like that one thing. They
Yeah.
all give me something nourishing, joyful, concentration wise, so many different ways to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just have one for whatever reason. Um, but I am, I really enjoy playing Mahler, Gustav Mahler. I wrote 9 symphonies. They are massive. Beethoven, 9 symphonies, but they're just, they're massive and so grandeur. Just when you sit in a rehearsal and you feel
Mm.
the vibrations, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just I'm being nurtured, and I'm not even playing when I'm counting rest.
Right.
But then when
Oh.
I play the kettle drums. It's the big large timpani,
Ooh.
and it's going, it's resonating like crazy.
It's like your own personal sound bath, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember when one of my music teachers
Mm-hmm.
told me, you should be able to feel the drum if you're playing, I don't want to say correctly, if you're playing it openly,
Mm-hmm.
relaxed. if you're tensed, it's not going to get in. And if you're tense, the drum is not going to ring as much.
You've stopped relationship. Yeah. Yeah.
I can feel it when my toe is on the pedal.
Yeah.
It translates all the way through my body.
So it's a full body experience. And a big part of that is interoception, or sensing your internal landscape. That fascinating. Could you play? I don't know how many movements are in Mahler's Ninth Symphony, but pick one. Could you play that the same way twice?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I could. On my part, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's say when I'm getting ready for an audition, you want to be able to play it 3 or 4 different ways in case you get asked to play it differently. But it's basically memorized, and you're got it. It's going to be, and the notes are always going to be those notes in that rhythmic structure.
Right.
I can't ad lib.
Correct.
Like jazz.
And that's, I said, so is doing this more like classical or more like jazz?
And I said it's more like jazz because each sound bath is improvised. I have the ability to be able to do that. I had that when I was a kid. I would just play on things. When I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I would just play on stuff. And then I started being able to read music and become not, I did like the blinder type of thing, right? Which meant classical music, when it started, was more improvisatory.
It was the pop of the time, right?
Yeah, it was the popular music.
Yeah.
And you could just make up stuff. And then they started writing things more, and it just became more that it's going to be, everything's going to be written down instead of we're going to open this up for more embellishments.
Okay.
At any rate, so I went that route, which gave me so many tools of finite playing and plushness and palettes, so to be able to make so many different sounds on one instrument, which that's what I love, because it opens up this one bowl or this one gong that I can make it sound like 10, depending on where I play it, how I play it, which type of mallet I use. So again, that's the improv of being able to listen to the room, watch people's movement if they are, watch their breath, pay attention to their energy. What does the song or sound bath need for what is going back and forth?
To harmonize the energies present. Yes. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. A lot of what we've talked about we've highlighted the relationships, internal relationships, sensory relationships, and then when you are facilitating a sound bath, you're facilitating a symphony in the room.
Absolutely.
And among these amazing bowls. I want to ask about the bowls in a moment. And when that relationship gets stuck, you feel out of tune, what techniques do you have? Would you like to share?
Which relationship are you making sure I ask it when I'm in when I'm presenting?
Well, I would love, in just a moment. I was thinking more about in your personal meditation practice. Because I don't know about you. I've sat down on the cushion of a morning, and of course I hope I don't. No, there's nobody around to see if I'm in my own meditation room, but the internal landscape is a little bit like the 13-year-old girl going, how long is this going to last? What are we going to do next? Why are you doing that? Right? Absolutely. It's really not pleasant inside sometimes.
That was me this morning, believe it or not.
Was it?
So this morning, I was out of sorts, meaning focusing on the list, focusing on what hasn't been done yet that needs to get done. And I would go in and out of tune. mostly out of tune early this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a slow walking meditation.
Yes.
Again, that grounds me. And, each step is taking 15 seconds. You are feeling the earth. You're feeling the floor. You're feeling your heel. You're feeling your arch. You're feeling. What else is that to pay attention to? But when you can pay attention to those things happening, my brain slows down because I'm no longer thinking about the list. I'm no longer thinking about, I'm concentrating on breath because I'm concentrating on just the movement. Eventually, I get into sounds, perhaps. Usually I do, but really you're just focusing on that step. You're focusing on the knee. You're focusing on, that's a little bit off balance. I'm focusing on, you're just there and nothing else matters. It's okay. And again, that's permission to be okay. And I'll well up because we don't, when we are in the present, rarely are we being chased by the lion. The lion is the list. It gives us anxiety.
Right. It could be a list, or it could be a memory of a lion.
Absolutely. It can be something that was real that's not happening. Basically, it's not happening right now.
And allowing the body time to register that is so very important. Permission. Yeah. So it sounds like, rather than, so one of the Zen practices that they will often teach in like a quote unquote beginner's session, aren't we all every single day, and is breath counting, right? Inhale one, exhale one, right? And then you don't always make it to 10.
Start back over.
You just start back over. So that's one of your techniques. Yes. But it also sounds like, and that one's sensory based because you have to feel it. But then you're sensing your position in space, proprioception. Yeah. You're sensing, what's my knee doing, which could be interoception. Sounds, perception. And then we talked a little bit before, and I asked about movement practice. And you said your basic movement practice is the slow walking. Yeah. Who introduced you to that?
It was Bodhi House, actually.
Awesome. Many years ago. Yeah. So are we talking about Bodhi House in Jemez? Yes. Yeah. So if you're in New Mexico and you're in the area of Jemez Springs, which is east and south of Santa Fe?
Slightly
west. Thank you. Yeah. Directions. Yes, west and south of Santa Fe. Bodhi House there is, when they're open to the public, such an incredible resource. Yeah. So would you say, do you have a Sangha? Do you have a group that you sit with?
My group, my Sangha is really, we don't normally sit. We are in different parts of the country.
Okay.
Yeah, but community here is a little bit smaller, but it's nurturing. Again, it's really an opening of allowance again, and non-judgment, which is, it gives you that permission again to be vulnerable. Yeah. And that gives you the permission to grow.
Yes. Yeah. Permission to grow. That seems vital in life. And it seems so simple, but something that's not highlighted.
Not taught. Also, it's a practice. When we say practice, an example is, you don't have to practice it 1 hour a day, even with my students or my music. But 5 minutes a day, 1 minute a day, that you're actually using it, that it becomes you. It becomes who you are. It becomes your makeup.
Mm.
And focus on the energies. Focus on, is it serving me in a upward energy way, or is it serving me in a downward energy way?
And again, no judgment,
no judgment.
recognition.
Yeah.
What I love about this is, so in yoga language, Sanskrit, the being out of tune, those are experiences of what would be called the obstacles, kleshas. And these are not just yoga, these are in Buddhism and a lot of other traditions. There are 5 basic obstacles: not knowing who we are, fear of death, mistaking ourselves for our roles, clinging to what is pleasant, and pushing away, right? And so when we find that we're out of the swim, we have skillful means, upaya, techniques that can bring us back into the flow. And it seems to me that these bowls, the gongs, all of the percussion instruments you have here, and the experience you offer is one of those potential skillful means. And it grows out of this practice.
Absolutely.
For you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who is listening to us, and because they keep thinking or mulling over, gosh, I would like to be one of those people who meditates. I'm looking for a practice, or gosh, I wish I knew how to practice yoga by myself, or slow walking by myself. How would you, what's the most important thing about practice they need to know?
It's okay to be incorrect.
Yes. Yes. I sense a theme.
And again, I don't know what happened, well, in our society that just pushes that.
So many things have happened.
Yeah, tons. Find your joy also, meaning what is it that brings you joy that's healthy to your being? Do that every day for a small period of time. You'll be amazed at how that will change your energy, and allow something else to open. Because when we are not feeling resonant, or when we're not vibing on a higher kind of energy source, we're connecting energies that are like us. We can only connect with energies that are like us. Connect.
What's the option? You clarified connect.
Yeah, disconnect, meaning you have this you have, what's the word I'm looking for? Resistance. Yeah. And it doesn't flow.
Right.
Doesn't feel good. Pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention. Being aware, being mindful. Is play little games. Here's another game I play. Usually, it used to be when I left my studio, get into the car, I would, did I lock the door? Did I not lock the door? It came a time that I said, I don't want to go check the door anymore, because I know what's happening. I am thinking about something else as I'm locking the door. I'm not present. So I just didn't like the feeling that, well, you weren't paying attention. For me, kind of not being so kind to myself.
I was, yeah.
Right. I'm not there 100% of the time. So but I was aware that I wasn't being kind to myself, and I didn't like that. I really didn't like it.
And you recognize that you didn't like it. I think so many of the times these things sort of happen recursively, and then we push it down.
Yes.
Like, oh, that wasn't very nice. Oh, push that down. oh, that wasn't very, oh, push that down. And
So,
at some point you interrupt.
yes. So I said, how can I make this different?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I am going to move 2 to 3 seconds slower when I lock my door, and I'm going to announce it out loud. It tickles me. It tickled me today. I'm putting the key in the door. I am actually locking because I'm telling myself what I'm doing at that moment. And it feels so good. It's simple, but I like feeling good.
Yes. Yes.
I do. Who likes feeling bad? But you make little simple things that can just change it like that.
Yes. And I think this is so very important. So one basic instruction would be slow it down.
Slow it down.
2 to 3 seconds.
It's not a lot.
Right? Yes. And then when we speak to ourselves, we are being both teacher and student simultaneously. And so if I speak to myself and say, well, that wasn't very good, why? I can be really mean to myself.
We can.
I am teaching myself in a certain way. But when we make it auditory, when we write it, we're being a conscious teacher. And every conscious teacher, I think we can both affirm this, gets better. Absolutely. The more you're conscious, you become better as a teacher.
Which is just a practice on its own.
Teaching is its own. Yes. Yes. And this as a skillful means. How did you find this in terms of the bowls? What's the material they're made of?
So this is,
did you find them?
This is quartz, crystal, which is glass. There are a certain percentage of how pure it is, if it can be used. These were really used in its purest form to hold different substances, like an acid type of substance. And if it wasn't the purest, it would actually leak through and bleed through.
Wow. Right, because the acid would find the defect.
Exactly right. So they would throw out a lot of bowls. But what they found out when they threw them out is how much they would ring or whatever when they would be. So this is years and years ago. So how did they find me, right? A friend gave me one 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Loved it because I love things that resonate. I'm a percussionist and musician. Played it, enjoyed it, tucked it away. After a couple of moves, the bowl ended up going to a friend. 10 years ago, people really were chiming out to me to get into this practice of sound bath, sound healing, sound therapy, sound immersion. I was resonating with it. They could already tell, but I wasn't listening. I'm a classical musician. Okay, I'm playing the symphony orchestra.
Our identities, our identities.
Exactly right.
Yes.
And I just didn't have time for it at the moment. It circled back around, let's see, another 8 years ago or something. I had a car accident. I got rear-ended 5-6 years ago, something like that. And I had to leave the orchestra. I had a medical leave. And when I had that medical leave, something really happened. I had this change of I could do anything I want. And it wasn't like I was missing it.
Yeah. And
I made a vow or mission to myself that I would like to do something. I want to be involved in something that's a multiple win situation.
Always.
Didn't have to be music. I even put that out there. I did, because I had another venture that wasn't music, but it was like a 4 multiple wind type of thing, and I felt so good. Again, I like feeling good.
Yeah.
And when I do, I really chime into what it is and what's producing that.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's more people feeling good, that's even better. Okay. So these circled back around. Someone said, go to a sound bath. Went to one. I was like, oh, that's nice. I felt wonderful after the session. Mm-hmm. And then I decided to take out and check it out a little bit more. Went to study with a couple of people in LA. And after I went and studied with them, got my certificate as a musician, I was answering all these questions. They had me back to teach them music theory. Ooh. Because as well as they could play, they didn't understand music theory. And I love these people dearly. They play well. But when you understand music theory, techniques, colors, blend, which I already had, it makes it so much more. It's everything is open, everything, when you can do that.
The raw experience, there's the theory, there's the understanding of how pieces and parts can be analyzed, right? The pieces and parts are maybe not, they're not there all by themselves.
Right.
But we can analyze it into that. And then when those two come together, the raw resonant experience together with the understanding of it, it supersedes.
Absolutely.
How fascinating.
And I started playing. Well, that wasn't hard. I still grow today, listening to the bowl. It tells me how to play. And I know that sounds funny, but it vibrates and resonates in a certain way. And when to taper another one in, taper another one down, you have to pay attention to the room, pay attention to that energy. And the more I listen to my playing 4 years ago and my playing today, sounds like two different people. It's just growth. So that's how it came to me. It came to me out of something closed, something open. And I love playing. I just love it because it does come natural to me because I've been doing it for so long.
Well, and you had a facility for it coming in, evidently, because you said you, even as a kid, you remember playing your world.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's great.
That is great. Well, and you offer sound healings, sound baths. Is one of those terms more correct than the other?
There's no wrong.
There is no wrong. You offer them all over the place.
Yes. You can come here to the Lotus Studio.
It's beautiful.
We have anything, small groups of 4 all the way up to 8 in the studio. And then I facilitate all around town with different yoga studios. I'm looking forward to the one at Badlands.
Thank you. Yes. We are too.
And also out of state. So it all depends. We're looking at different resorts now. And the whole theme is share with the masses, and how people know about it. People don't know how to get to it sometimes. But you can always Google Lotus Sound Bath. When people just Google Sound Bath in New Mexico, where you normally pop up. And even when people are traveling through town. I mean, traveling across town, not across town, across the United States.
Yes.
I've had so many people that I just Googled Sound Bath and it popped up, and we came and had a session. Yeah.
Oh, and wonderful.
It's just a blast. So when they leave, and then I don't want to tell you how you will feel, but let's just say you're more present. And the mind has slowed in chatter. We get to that theta state of mind, out of the gamma, go, into the beta, into the alpha, theta state. And things just feel okay when you're there. A lot is not going on around you, the stimulus, if you will. So that's one of the things that, once again, we enjoy at Lotus providing.
I remember my very first sound bath, walking out trying to figure out how I was going to tell people about it. Cause I was like, I have to tell people about this is amazing. And just having no words. And then it dawned on me, I felt like I had, like, the sound was, it wasn't heavy like a solid thing, but it felt like it had permeated every centimeter and molecule, that it had taken me apart molecule by molecule and put me back together clean. That's how I felt.
Yes.
And it's amazing.
The body,
Mm-hmm.
water.
Mm-hmm.
Vibrations. If I set a vat of water here, you would see the ripples from the inside of the water out.
Mm-hmm.
Inside of our bodies. You can feel it.
110%.
So that's literally it's working. Your body is working without it, you having to do something. Most people think when they meditate, I'm doing something wrong. You're just lying, breathing, listening, feeling those three things, and then hopefully bringing into mind a mantra of something you would like to bring into your space, and some type of entity of intention. It could be one word, it could be a short phrase that you're focusing on bringing that in as you're being retooled. So sound bath, sound immersion, sound therapy, they're all used. Words sound bath was kind of coined in the 1970s.
Okay.
And it was like a wash of sound, so they called it a bath, which is what it is. It's a wash of sound all around you. I also like immersion, but like I said, none of the terms are incorrect.
Indeed. Well, and it really reminds me frequently in our classes, I remind people in various ways to feel the waves that just breathing makes, because we are what's the Star Trek phrase? Useless bags of mostly water. We're 70% water, or whatever the percentage is.
It's large.
Yeah.
It's high.
And a lot of that we can refer to as interstitial fluid, lymphatic fluid, also called the extracellular matrix. The solid states of our body alternate with fluid states inside these skin sacs. And when we deepen the breath into the base of the rib cage, which is what can produce that ripple into the belly, you can actually feel it all the way out to your fingers and toes, all the way into your scalp. And then you, as you exhale, and the bandhas of the body start drawing back to center, you can feel the force, almost like the moon, drawing back towards center. And in my experience, being in the presence of these bowls, these gongs, facilitates that in a way that is effortless. And effortless is a sign that you're on a good track.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, Douglas Cardwell of Lotus Sound Healing. And he'll be at Badlands Yoga, September 23rd, 2023. We're very much looking forward to it. And you're at other places here in Albuquerque and Santa Fe in between.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just get on the website at any time. One of the easiest things you can do is, if you're not going to one of these sessions that are already geared to a certain date, create your own date. When you click on the private studio, private group at the Lotus Studio, you pick your own date. So,
well, and so this has occurred to me sitting in this beautiful room. It's the colors are beautiful, the drapings are beautiful. This would be a great date.
Absolutely. Come in
with your beloved, with a family.
Absolutely.
It would be a great, if you're looking for a way to treat yourself right? If you're looking for a way to celebrate.
I have played two, what is it, when the bride does her,
Oh,
before they, what is it called again? I'm gonna lack a word.
I've never had one, so I don't remember, but
It's not a bridal shower. It's when all the ladies get together and they have their,
in overseas they call it a hen party.
okay. So they have, I've played two of those because they wanted to
Yes, they
enjoy
wanted
each other.
to connect.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. And of course, you could do this on a regular basis as
Absolutely. It's a practice. It's like massage. It's like eating. You can't eat one meal and be full the rest of your life.
and on that note,
Namaste.
namaste, happy yoga day, happy sound bowl day.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so
Um,
much, Christine. It's a pleasure to be here.